Thank you, Mrs. Lane. Welcome, families. Lots of people joining on now. We're going to give everybody like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll start. While we're waiting, feel free if you'd like to put your child chat button. We'd love to know who's here and give us a sense of, we are recording the video, and so we want to kind of get a sense of who's here and who we need to send the recording out to that wasn't able to attend tonight. So feel free to put your child's name in the chat button, and feel free if you want to turn off your video since we're recording if you're not comfortable having your video on. Hi, Jackson. We'll give our families like 2 more minutes. Well, families, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and as more families join, they can join in with where we're at in our presentation. My name is Carrie Bockel, and I'm one of the first grade teachers here at Belle Reve, and I'm joined by Sarah Lane and Stacy Throneberry. We are the first grade team. Hold on one second. That's my daughter, just came in. Yeah. Sorry about that. We are the first grade team, and we're going to be presenting tonight about the curriculum, homework expectations. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat button. Mrs. Lane is collecting those, and if we don't answer your question while we are presenting, we will be sure to get back to you through email and make sure that your question gets answered. You may also, before I forget, hopefully you have seen the take-home folder coming home. Yours might be purple or green or red or blue. This is our form of communication back and forth between home and school. Right now, it's mostly been filled with some fun coloring sheets, but eventually you'll start to see homework coming home, nightly reading books, and important information from the school. So hopefully you have seen that folder, and on the front of it you would have seen our reading log, which Mrs. Throneberry is going to talk about in just a minute. So if you have not seen a homework folder come home, will you please let us know so we can solve why that has not made it into your hands. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Throneberry, and she's going to start by talking about reading.
Hi, I'm Stacy Throneberry, and hopefully your child is coming home and is excited about reading. Reading is a huge part of our day in first grade, and we read all throughout the day. But we do have certain components of our reading workshop time that we're going to talk about. The first is the mini lesson. Now, our reading time starts with a mini lesson when we are pointing out a specific habit, a specific strategy to help your child become a better reader. Right now, both last week and this week, we are focused solely on the strategy of stamina during our mini lesson. So we're working on having the children sit for a while with a book. That's our only strategy that we're working on at this point in time. As we get into our curriculum next week, we'll start to talk about what do we do when we come to a word that we don't understand? How can we figure out what that word is? We can use the pictures, we can look at how the word starts, we can think about what makes sense. And we're going to watch a video that'll talk about some of those strategies as well that you can practice at home as you read with your child. While your child is reading independently and working on their stamina, we as teachers are pulling other children over to the reading table. It may be in a one on one setting or it may be in a small group, and we're reading with your children. These first couple weeks, we're really trying to get to know your first grader as a reader, looking for strengths, looking for areas that we can focus on to help make stronger, and assessing the right level for your child. Some students read like crazy over the summer, and they have not only maintained the level that they left kindergarten, but increased their level. And sometimes, if we don't get as much reading in, we might struggle a little bit at the beginning of the year. So, we're trying to get them in the right place to be bringing home books to you each night that are on their level. We're conferring with your child. We're looking at how they approach words that they don't understand. As they get into a little bit harder books, we're making sure, do they understand the beginning, middle, and end of the story? Are they comprehending what's happening? Can they talk about the characters? So we're looking at all parts of the book and what good readers do. And we're trying to model that to your children as well. We read stories all throughout the day. We listen to celebrities read stories on Storyline Online. We're just constantly looking at books and trying to model that example of what a good reader sounds like. What pace do they read at? Do they have good expression as they read? And those are the things that your children will pick up on. We'll be instructing it specifically. And hopefully, as they're reading at home, you'll start to hear those things if you haven't already. So that brings us to that reading log that Mrs. Bockel talked about. It's the page on the cover of your child's take-home folder, and it has the boxes of 10-minute increments. And we know so many first graders have already been reading at home and coloring in their little box and having the grown-up sign or initial that they did their reading. And just as an incentive, when they get to 100 minutes of reading, they get to choose a sticker at school to put on their paper. And we'll be collecting those in their leadership binder that Mrs. Lane will speak about a little bit later. Starting on Tuesday next week, 1 week from today, your child will be bringing home a reading book for homework. That book is a book that may have been given to your child by their teacher, or it may be a book that they have chosen from their book box. Again, books in their book box may have been chosen by their teacher, but they're going to learn this year how to shop for books and to get just right books in their book box. More than likely, the book your child brings home will be a known book, a book that has been read once, twice, a few times, but it's possible your child will have just shopped for that book and has not read it previously. And so if they bring it home and they're reading it very fluently, it's probably a known book. And I want you to go ahead and still listen to them read, even though they know that book from cover to cover. We hope that your child will read with you. We hope your child will read that book to themselves. Maybe read the book to a brother or sister, or a pet, or a stuffed animal, or all of the above. The more your child reads, the better the fluency, the better the expression will be. As your child reads those books for homework, they are allowed to color in their 10-minute increments. So it will kind of give them double positive on their reading log. They're doing homework and they're coloring in on their reading log. We do have a video to share with you. If you have already had a first grader at Bellerive School, you've seen this video, but it gives some pointers on how to help your child read and have a healthy struggle with unknown words.
Hi, this is Jennifer Gonzalez for Cult of Pedagogy. If you have a child between kindergarten and grade 2, it's likely that that child's teacher has assigned about 10, 20, or 30 minutes of reading per night for homework. In this video, we're going to talk about what parents and other caregivers can do to make sure this homework really helps your child become a better reader. The first thing you should do is sit side by side with your child while they read. Although it's really tempting to try to get other work done, the point of this homework is to have an adult following along. When you sit side by side, you can watch the words as she reads them. This allows you to give her immediate feedback when she needs it. Number 2 is don't tell the words. To learn how to decode words on her own, a child needs lots of time to wrestle with them. If you jump in to tell her what the words are, she'll miss the learning that comes from that struggle. Sometimes all you have to do is wait quietly, giving her time to figure a word out.
The snake charmer
Good, yeah.
sits in the front of a basket and begins to play a flute.
Number 3, move beyond sound it out. Just trying to sound out a word letter by letter is not the most effective way to figure out what the word is. There are tons of strategies for decoding a word. One way is to think about similar words. If she's trying to read the word rake, point out that it has a lot of the same letters as the word cake, a word she already knows. That can help her guess the right pronunciation for rake. Chunking is another strategy, breaking the word into bigger chunks rather than trying to sound out each individual letter. Finally, allow your child to use the pictures in the book to make a guess. Never cover up the pictures when your child is reading. They're important tools to help her figure out words independently. You can also try covering up part of a word to see if your child can read the other part first.
Is the cobra really dancing to the music? No, it can't even hear it. Snakes have no... Oh, I didn't know that.
You stuck on that word? If we take off the end of it, what's that?
Out,
That's out, and then
outer
outer. Good.
ears.
Number 4, have your child reread some passages for fluency. If your child is merely sounding out individual words, she won't really get the meaning of a sentence. For the words to make sense together, they need to be read smoothly. So if your child takes a while to get through a particular sentence, have her go back and reread it so it makes more sense.
A long time ago, sailors thought these meant that someone was going to die.
Good. Now we kind of slowed down right there, so let's try to smooth this sentence out. A long time ago, sailors...
Sailors thought this meant that someone was going to die.
Much nicer that time. Just be careful not to overdo it. Asking your child to repeat dozens of sentences in one session will drive her crazy. A few times is enough. And if she's struggling through most of every page, it's probably not the right book for her. Choose an easier one or tell the teacher that she's struggling at this level. Number 5, allow some mistakes to go uncorrected. It's not necessary to correct every single error your child makes.
His
That's actually 2 words pushed together.
headdress
Yeah.
had the golden cobra on it.
Because the child is working hard to get the word headdress right, and then puts a lot of concentration into golden cobra, pointing out that she said the when she should have said would be too much of a distraction. Once she gets the more difficult words down, you can be more picky about making sure she reads all the words right. Number 6, allow your child to read the same book multiple times. If she reads a book on Monday and wants to read the same one again on Tuesday, that's okay. With each successive read, she'll get better and better at building her fluency, and by the end of the week, she should easily recognize words she struggled with at the beginning. Finally, you should keep reading to your child. Just because your child is learning how to read on her own, it doesn't mean she can't still learn a lot from listening to you read. By continuing to read to her for pleasure, you model correct pacing, reading with expression, and a love of books that will help make her a lifelong reader. Hey, I'm glad you're still here.
So thank you for listening to that. The passages we know are a little bit odd, talking about cobras and sailors and things like that. but the strategies are what's important there. So we hope that you can carve out some time to read with your child each night. And I do realize I forgot the shared reading part of our day, and we do lots of shared reading throughout our course of our year with our students, and we mainly do that through poetry. Your child has a poetry folder that they keep in their book box, and we reread those poems every day for a week, doing different activities with those. And we're keeping them in the book box because then that becomes another piece of text that your child can successfully read.
I'm Mrs. Lane. Hello, and I'm going to talk a little bit about math this evening. Our very first unit that we are right in the midst of is all about addition and subtraction. And we run our math lessons very similar to the way we do a reading lesson, where we start with a mini lesson and the kids all have a workbook page that they'll work on that will practice the skill that we're teaching and focusing on that day. And then we have a workshop model where we do lots of gameplay and different activities that will help the kids develop their understanding of that particular strategy plus previous strategies that we have learned throughout the year. If your child was a Parkway kid or a Belle Reve kid last year, you're familiar with Dreambox, and we will be utilizing Dreambox again this year. We love this because it is differentiated and moves at your child's pace. So this is a wonderful, wonderful resource. A big, huge focus of first grade math is to develop your child's math brain. And we want to do that through quick recall of our math facts. And we'll start the year with the math facts within 10, meaning no answer goes above 10. And so we also want to develop their number sense and their problem solving ability as well. We have set a goal for the kids. We want them to work on their math fluency all year long. And for this very first quarter of first grade, we are going to start with addition within 10. Tomorrow, you'll find a paper in your child's take-home folder. We did our very first fluency practice at school last week, and we're going to send it home tomorrow with a little cover letter explaining a little bit more. But this is a goal that we're going to keep track of in the leadership binder, which we'll show you in just a little bit. On Mondays, we will have math homework, and it will just be a quick fluency practice page. It should be fast, and hopefully it should be pretty easy for your child to do. It should be, pretty quick. We also will send home a packet that will be optional, but the packet will be for reinforcement and for a challenge of some skills for your child. So again, that one's optional. The Monday math homework, not optional. We want that one back on Tuesday, please. And to best help your child, you can just quiz them, ask them some word problems, ask them addition and subtraction problems within 10, within 20 as the year goes along. I always used to trap my daughter in the bathtub when she was smaller, and I would ask her math equations or to spell sight words for me, or in the car when they're strapped in when their 5-point harness. So just little bits all throughout the day are very, very helpful as you're building your child's math fluency.
And Mrs. Bockel is having some technical difficulties and her computer shut her out. So I'm going to take the writing and phonics section here to talk about. Each day we work on writing in first grade. And our first unit that we will be focused on is a personal narrative unit. And we find that sometimes personal narratives are easier for first graders to write about because it's something that they really experienced. Oftentimes, if something happens throughout the day, maybe we see our wild turkey friends walk behind our classroom, or something really fun happened on the playground, I might say, oh, that would make a good story and writing workshop. So personal narratives will be our first unit, and we're focused on the kids writing a lot. We want them to write lots of 3-page books here at the beginning where they have a good beginning, a middle, and an end. And we'll build on that throughout the year. We'll switch from 3-page books to 5-page books. But hopefully within just a few days of work in the classroom, they'll be able to turn out a book and start another one. I see that Mrs. Bockel's back. I'm going to hand it back over.
Thank you. I'm so glad we're in person. My computer has shut down like 3 times. Thank you, Mrs. Throneberry, very much picking up my slack. So yes, we are really focused on the quantity, and that the more that they're writing, it's building their stamina and their independence. And that's what we're looking for at the beginning of the year. We want them to move from writing for 5 to 6 minutes at a time to writing for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, up to 25 or 30 minutes, so that by the end of first grade, they're writing 5-page books that are filled with sentences. And in the beginning, getting that independence also helps us to be able to have those one-on-one conferences and that small group work. So in the beginning, it's really like a little bit of whack-a-mole, trying to keep everyone engaged and everyone on track. And when we take that beginning to teach them how to write on their own, spell on their own, try things on their own, it allows us to really get into their writing and start thinking about how to make it more quality writing, more complex sentences. We're focusing a lot on handwriting right now and helping in their letter formation and understanding when to use capitals and when to use lowercase. The first book we're writing is an identity book, all about ourselves, and really focusing on simple sentence structure and where to put periods, so that as they're writing more and building on that stamina, they can start writing longer sentences and filling their pages. Another big piece of our writing time is phonics. Our first unit is about studying names and words, and that's really focused on that letter sound connection, the relationship between the letters in our name and the sounds that they make, those unusual rules. Why does the silent E do what it does? Why do certain blends and digraphs sound the way they do? We look a lot at rhyming and looking for patterns in words. And you'll notice in bold the word snap words. That's just our way of talking about first grade words. There's about 150 first grade words that we're looking for students to be able to read 100% of by the end of the year. And then to write, there's not really a percentage to, but to write a lot of them. A big part is also not just about correct spelling. What do I do when I don't know how to spell it? Instead of just asking someone, really looking at the word wall, looking at books that I've read, looking around the room, just becoming familiar with print and realizing that I can figure out how to spell it on my own. Very much like the video about how to help kids instead of tell kids, we focus a lot on their independence as spellers and thinking about, well, what do you hear? Write it down, and honoring those approximations while pushing them to spell it correctly. And so getting away from how do you spell allows them that independence that frees us up to really dive in and help them grow as writers. So we focus a lot on the way words work and all of the exceptions to the rules after we've learned the way words work. So it's about an hour and a half of our day really focused on being independent writers who are brave enough to spell even when we don't know how to spell it.
The next thing that we want to talk about is science and social studies and our first grade community. And the first thing we want to talk about are the 7 habits. This year we are so excited. I'm going to share this way. We're so excited to have our leadership binders back. We took a little bit of a break last year with COVID. It just really wasn't feasible to have the leadership binders, but it was a huge, huge thing that we did miss. So your kids have all made a cover for their leadership binder, and this is the 3-ring binder that they brought to school as part of their school supplies. So thank you for supplying those for us. We will send these home every month on the early release day. And in your child's leadership binder, we've got some divider tabs. And the first section is leadership. And in this section, you will find, of course, a 7 habits tree. We've spent these first 7 days of school really reviewing and diving into the habits, teaching them to our new students, reviewing them for our Belle Reve kindergartners from last year. And every month we will really dive deep. This was a flyer that went home earlier this year. We will really dive deep into all of the habits all throughout the year so that we can learn them and live them. Next in our leadership binders, you will find the mission statement section. The mission statement is our statement of why we're here, why we do what we do. Belle Reve School has a mission statement. Our first grade mission statement is work hard, be nice. And all of our classrooms, we've all written class mission statements using words that the children have supplied that are important to them. So I hope your child has shared the class mission statement with you at some point. The next part of the leadership binder, we have our WIG section. WIGs, which stands for Wildly Important Goals. And we have goals for the children. They will have reading goals, they will have writing goals, and they will have math goals. That was that first math goal that I talked about a little earlier during math time, the fluency. You'll see recording pages here. And we really, really want you over the course of the year to really dive into these recording goal sheets because you will see so much progress. That's one of the greatest things in first grade is the amount of progress that the children make in this very short year. And then our last section is our victory section where we will record any and all victories that the kids have, any successes that they have and would love to add to their leadership binder. We will add it here and celebrate it. So that's what the leadership binder looks like. And you can look for that on the early release days again. I'll go back to this. And so for science and social studies, we alternate. First, we're going to start with social studies, and then next we'll move into our science unit. Our first social studies unit is all about being a team, where we focus on community and rules and responsibilities, order and equity. We also will have a cultural tradition unit as well as an economics unit, which is a favorite for us. It's based on a food truck, and so we get to teach economics that way. And then our 3 science units that we have are all about animal adaptations. We will learn about light and sound, and we will also learn about the sun, moon, and stars.
In closing, we'd just like to thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us and learn a little bit more about what first grade looks like at Belle Reve School. We're looking forward to sharing your child with you this school year and watching him or her grow as the months go by. Please know that we are always here for any questions or concerns or any help that you may need. You can send us an email, you can give us a call into the classroom. If you do need to call during the school day to let us know about a change in how your child will be going home, we ask you to call the office for that, just in case for some reason we have a meeting during our planning time and we're unable to get to the phone to hear a message, or we miss that email during the day. If it's for dismissal, call the office and they will get a note down to us so that we can make sure your child gets home the way you're planning. So we thank you so very much. And if after this presentation tonight, you think of anything that perhaps you forgot to put in the chat, feel free to send us that question and we'll address that as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. We can't wait to see our first graders tomorrow morning.
Good night.